Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is Throwback Thursday on our channel Talking Fandom and Such, where we talk about news having to do with your movies or different fandoms, and then we give you a throwback movie that kind of relates to it. We don't have a lot of news to talk about today, so instead we're going to be talking about some older movies that you may not have heard of. In fact, this is 5 movies that you maybe didn't know were based on comic books. So let's jump right into it. First off, we have Cowboys and Aliens. Cowboys and Aliens was a graphic novel created by Scott Mitchell Rosenberg and written by Fred Van Lent and Andrew Foley. It was originally released by American publisher Platinum Studios in 2006. The film adaptation of this was made in 2011, and a lot of people don't really know that this was a comic book movie, but it follows a guy who wakes up in the Wild West with a strange piece of metal on his hand. And from there, it kind of starts to tell this story that, of course, involves cowboys and aliens. And the concept was really cool, and it stars Harrison Ford. So how could this movie have gone wrong? And why do people not know it's based on a comic book? A lot of people I have talked to really didn't know this was a comic book before it was a movie. Or at least in terms of it being a graphic novel, I know a lot of people would have read that novel if they had seen it around. If you see that graphic novel, I highly recommend picking it up. But the movie is in itself very different. Alright, coming in at number 2 is a movie based on a 1996 manga called Old Boy. And Old Boy tells the story of a man who is imprisoned by for over a decade by a mysterious benefactor, only to be released and told that he has 5 days to find out who imprisoned him. And it is a very good movie, and the remake itself is pretty good, but I highly recommend the original if, of course, you don't mind reading subtitles, or you can find a dubbed version if that pleases you better. But actually, the original is better than the remake. Old Boy is a definite must-see that a lot of people don't realize started off in comic book form. Coming in at number 3, we have Dark Horse Comics' Timecop. Timecop not only had a movie made of it, but also had a sequel and a TV show. So you would be forgiven for thinking that this movie was in fact its own property and not the property of the filmmakers. But no, this film originally belonged to Dark Horse Comics, and you can still find some of these comics floating around in your local comic book store, probably in the dollar bin. But if not, if it's one of the more obscure versions of the titles, or maybe issue number 1, you might not be so lucky, I would really recommend checking it out. The movie is quite cool. The sequel leaves a little bit to be desired, and the series really didn't pick up stride, but it's still worth a watch if you find it floating around on streaming somewhere. I highly recommend you check these out, and definitely read the Dark Horse comic if you come across it. Coming in at number 4 is The Edge of Tomorrow starring Tom Cruise. It was in fact based on a manga called All You Need Is Kill. Now the movie itself is a very strange movie where he has to complete a mission, and of course he dies several times over, but every time he dies he's brought back due to some warped time loop that he's stuck in. And the manga is also by the same people who brought you Death Note, so it is very entertaining. It's not the best sci-fi movie you'll ever see, I'm sure, but it is a good way to pass a couple hours. And I have never actually read this manga, but I actually do want to. It sounds very intriguing. So watch the movie, and if you get a chance to check out All You Need Is Kill, then go ahead and do that also. Alright, so coming in at number 5 is one that actually shocked me. In the 1999 superhero film Mystery Men. That's right, Mystery Men started off as a comic book, only they never really had their own comic book. Instead, they appeared in a comic book called The Flaming Carrot. That's right, The Flaming Carrot, about a superhero who actually had a carrot for a head. And this comic actually parodied other superhero comics at the time. Now, I always figured that that would have made a pretty insane little movie, but I did not know that Mystery Men actually started off as part of that comic book. So now, if I see that in my local comic book store, I definitely have to check that out myself. I urge you to do the same. The movie Mystery Men, if you haven't seen it, is a spoof on superhero movies that takes it to the extreme in a lot of fun ways. It has a good cast and a lot of laughs, and I highly recommend you watch it. Are you shocked by any of these titles? Did you know all of them were based on comic books? Let us know which one shocked you the most in the comments below. And definitely share this video with all of your friends so they can be a part of the conversation as well. Then friends, remember to hit that like button as hard as you can. It's free and it helps the channel and we appreciate it. Miko says we need more subscribers and you don't want to disappoint Miko. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and while you're down there, hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. At the end of the day, fandom is family.